the reason that we always want to improve upon time management is because we know that if we choose correctly, time management leads to what? Massive results. Say it. Put your hands up. Massive results. Massive results. Thank you, Terry. You got all animated in it. Louise, tell me. Massive results. Do it, girl. Do it. Yes. Out here. Woo. Everything we ever want, right? And yet, it's the little small activities that we commit to every day to get to it. So I want to talk about following the path of mastery for a second. And I'm actually going to read to you a quote from The One Thing. And Gary says here, when you, on this on 176, he's got it underlined in the book. When you can see mastery as a path you go down, instead of a destination you arrive at, it starts to feel accessible and attainable. I'm going to read that again, and I'd love for you guys to tell me what you think he's saying there. Terry, I might voluntold you. I might, because you're always so good at this stuff. When you can see mastery as a path you go down instead of a destination you arrive at, it starts to feel accessible and attainable. What do you think that's saying?
Well, I can relate it to script practicing because, I mean, that's one thing, we teach everybody is, you need to learn your script. So what is it? Amateurs learn to get it right. Masters learn to never get it wrong. And going through that, even just watching my team as we script sometimes during the week, just to see how we all improve. And I still go to Wednesdays with Brian Armstrong in the morning, and him and I keep challenging each other. And I still learn to this day. I still have not mastered a script. I'm still learning how to master them so I never get it wrong.
Terry, how many hours does it take to reach mastery?
What was it, 10,000 hours?
10,000 hours. 10,000 hours. Here's the next part of this that I want to say. Most assume mastery is an end result, but at its core, mastery is a way of thinking, a way of acting, and a journey you experience. When what you've chosen to master is the right thing, then pursuing mastery of it will make everything else you do either easier or no longer necessary. Why is this important in time blocking? What makes this important when it comes to time blocking? When you think about mastery being a destination you go down and not a destination where you're running to.
But wouldn't you incorporate that into your habits? Because if you do your time blocking and start to master or work on your mastery of doing your time blocking, if you miss it, you're going to feel guilty about it. So it's more of a matter of trying to make that habit to become the master of it. And I don't think you can ever achieve mastery because you're constantly growing to become even better.
You are.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. You're absolutely wrong. Who else has got some thoughts around this? Go ahead, Cindy.
For me, mastery, when I first tried it, I tried to master the things that I knew would make me more productive in my life. Mm-hmm. So I started by finding out when I had the most energy. And I built my calendar around that. Some people are morning people, some people are night people. I learned that if I didn't have time for my own thoughts and thinking, then I couldn't pour into others. So for me, mastery was being accountable to me and being accountable to grow myself in the areas that would create the most joy in my life. And it's a never ending process because you can always get better at something. And I'm a real high D. So if I'm trying to master something and it's uncomfortable to me and it takes me out of my comfort zone, then I take away things that are important to myself until I master it. In other words, until I show up on a regular basis to do that thing repeatedly. For example, if I've got lead gen, I have this on my calendar for every morning at 8:30, Monday through Thursday, and I haven't been making it. And I realized how important it was to me. So I changed my whole schedule so that I could be here, because that 30 minutes for me, I've learned, helps me master the things I do for the rest of the day, if that makes any sense.
It does make sense. It does make sense. Who else has got some thoughts around this? Go ahead, Joanne.
So I wrote down a mastery is a continuous journey. And I used to think that, I would try to master something. And what I was doing is really going to my natural ability, not understanding that. Whereas really you have to become uncomfortable and continually becoming uncomfortable down that journey. So.
Joanne, what have you spent the last year becoming uncomfortable in to create mastery around?
Tons of things, mostly the cold calling, circle calling, and taking things to the next level. Like now I'm doing events, and I was thinking about it the other day, and then I was like, oh, there's too much work. Maybe I'll try an easier way. And then I'm like, no, dig in and get to it and master it. So
get to it and master it.
And time blocking.
And last year was a record year for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the Northeast. And this year, your goal is what for GCI?
350.
Woohoo!
And with what you have closed and what you have pending and what you have in the pipeline, where are you at as of the end of March?
As of the end of March, my pipeline is 7 million, 3 folks for 176. So
$176,000 by the end of March. Now, here's the thing. Joanne's been in the business how long?
19 years.
19 years. 19 years. But here's the thing, guys. When you truly decide that you want to break through your natural ceiling of achievement, you must then choose to create mastery around an activity that is going to help you break through. And it's uncomfortable, it's boring, and 80% of the people give up.
90,
right? But the 80-20 rule, we'll give them grace. We'll say it's 80, right? They give up. And why do they give up? Because it's hard. It's hard stuff. It's hard stuff. It's hard stuff to get up in the morning and make the choice to follow your schedule. And if lead gen is on your schedule, we'd rather go walk. I'd rather go play golf. I'd rather play golf every day, all day. We'd rather go do all of these different things. And yet we know that to get 10,000 hours in mastery around the hard stuff will provide for you a confidence and a life by design, and for yourself and for your family and for those that you love that you never thought that you could attain. Right? One of the things I want to say on here is I want to give you a couple of examples around mastery. Eddie Van Halen. Who knows who Eddie Van Halen is? I mean, come on. Come on. Who doesn't know who Eddie Van Halen is, right? 10,000 hours. Alex Van Halen has said that when he would go out at night, his brother Eddie would be sitting on his bed practicing the guitar. And when he came home many hours later, Eddie would still be in the same place, still practicing. That's the journey of mastery. It never ends. Now, let me ask you a question. I'm sure your life would go on if you didn't have Eddie Van Halen in it, but how many of you have your lives in music been enriched because of Eddie Van Halen. I mean, come on, Jamie's Crying, right? That's a great song. So let me ask you this. Today, will you choose to lean in to create mastery around something that maybe you're not comfortable in, so that you can then show up for the people that really need you to help them reach the goals that they have, that they don't even know that they need you yet? Will you do that? Will you do what's necessary? And usually that does involve door knocking or cold calling or those uncomfortable things that we don't like to do. You know, someone told me one time there, and I love this, they're like, well, if it was easy, everybody would do it. Well, everybody is doing real estate. But let me tell you something. Very few people are exceptionally successful at it. And it's because they're willing to do the hard stuff and create mastery around that. All right. So the last thing I want to say on this before I get your ahas and what your thoughts are is that Gary Keller never does anything without a tremendous amount of research behind it. And it's pretty interesting, this 10,000 hour rule. This psychologist did a study on violinists and musicians and different things like that about the 10,000 hour rule and how 10,000 hours is what it is to create mastery. And so he says here, many elite performers complete their journey in about 10 years. You can develop mastery around something in about 10 years. That's why people, one of the things that I believe that I've created mastery around is cold calling, and people listen to me and they're like, oh my gosh, well, I've done it for 15 years, right? You got to create mastery around it and do it every day. What is it in your life that you've done every day that you've created mastery around that other people wish they could do as well as you? And you look at them and you say, hey, if you put as much into it as I have, you could get there, right? If you do the math, in about 10 years, elite performers complete their journey. If you do the math, is an average of about 3 hours of deliberate practice every day. Now, if your one thing relates to work and you put it into play for 250 days a year, that's 5 days a week for 50 weeks. That gives you 2 weeks of vacation, 5 days a week for 50 weeks. To keep pace on your mastery journey, you'll need an average of 4 hours a day. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? You lead generate. I mean, really, the masters at this lead generate 4 hours a day. 4 hours a day, they lead generate. So 4 hours a day, 5 days a week for 250 days a year. You do that for 10 years and you build mastery. But let me say one thing about building mastery in the real estate business. Is once you learn the design and the makeup of a cold call, you will recession-proof your business. You will listen to people talk about, oh my gosh, what's happening with real estate? Oh my gosh, what's happening with interest rates? What's happening in the economy? What's happening here? And they're getting all wound up. And you will never get wound up because you will have so much confidence in your ability to create your own business. You will be in control of it. So it's worth it. It's worth it, guys. You will win in this business. All right, I want to hear some ahas. We got 5 minutes left, and there's some cold callers on this call because I know Louise Johnson is one of them. I know because I worked with her, and she was a listing appointment queen, right? I know that. Joanne Eckert, she absolutely is the circle prospecting queen. She is building her business on the back of circle prospecting and dials to her sphere, right? And I also know we had some folks on the call yesterday that are farming like crazy and door knocking and are doing amazing things. Tell me what your thoughts are around this conversation. Janine is also someone else who is pouring into daily practice of calling her sphere and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. So tell me, how's that going? What are your ahas from that in terms of what I've said out of this book? Is it a journey or a destination? Janine?
Well, I just wanted to share that just doing the DTD2 every day, I just keep getting either an email of, oh, I was referred to you. So I've had a lot of referral business in the past few weeks, and clearly a lot of them are buyers. I have a couple of listings, but one's a buyer. No, two of them are buyers that I just got this week. Which is, right now it's so difficult for the buyers. I've put in 2 offers this week, in the past week, and they're rejected, and we're 20,000 over because you have to be 50,000 over or 100 and a cash buyer and no contingency. So it's been very difficult, but I do know that when the market, starts to shift, then I'm not going to complain that I have all these buyers.
That's great.
It's just a good feeling to open my email and just keep getting more and more referrals, because I, like Joanne, have been in the business for a long time, but I didn't do the work that I'm doing now. And I just expected business to come to me because I had a cleaning business for so long that I didn't have to go after business. But I realized real estate's different. And so now I'm finally getting to the point where, I'm not getting calls every day, but if I keep doing what I'm doing, I will get calls every day.
You will. You absolutely will. And Janine has decided to build her business through her referrals, DTD2, and through a different kind of farming, through her gym, right, Janine? Through the gym and through yoga and farming that group of people. See, you can farm. It doesn't have to just be communities, right? It just depends on what you're passionate about and what you want to do, right? But I love that Janine said that. And Janine, every day, what do you have to do in your mind and in your mindset to get on the phone?
Just tell myself to shut up. Just do it. Well, meaning, like, I get in my own head sometimes, like, oh, what am I going to say? I think about it too much. So I just have to dial the phone and I just have to pick it up and just do it, Just
do it. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it.
Right.
Okay, guys, we talked about building mastery today. So go do your one thing, your lead generation. If your goal is to talk to 10 people about real estate, go make that happen this morning. Go talk to some sellers. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about moving from E to P, which is entrepreneurial to purposeful. And this is a cool conversation, because once you begin to get in your mind that mastery is not a destination, but it's actually just a road you travel on your whole life, then you can see how developing mastery around a certain area will help you push through your ceiling of achievement to get to the next level. Some of you have a natural ceiling of achievement. Maybe for some of you, it's 7 million. Maybe for some of you, it's 10 or 15 million in volume. And yet you want to go further. And so leveraging mastery to break through your ceiling of achievement by getting purposeful and then holding yourself accountable. That's how you gain time management, guys. That's the key to time management.